Escaped from New Jersey. It's the SNL Nerds, the show where two comics from New Jersey nerd out about Saturday Night Live. I'm your co-host, Darren Patterson.
And I'm your co-host, John Trumbull.
John Trumbull, how are you, sir?
Such energy. Wow. I'm not prepared to match that energy. I'm doing okay, but now I just feel vastly inferior because you're coming in really hot, and I don't know if I can live up to that.
I come in like a wrecking ball, baby. We got a lot. We got like a movie to talk about. We got SNL updates. We got to talk about.
And we have a guest.
And we got a guest. A guest. So all right, I'll bring it down.
Okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. You're hyped. I like that. I appreciate the energy. I'm just very sleep deprived at the moment, so I don't know if I can match this.
Well, do what you got to do, man. Hey, man, you got a podcast here.
But look, I've got a Nolte impression locked and ready to go. So
yeah. Oh, is it like sort of like that? What is that Patton Oswalt joke where he does a Nolte impression? Is it like that?
Yeah. It's basically Patton Oswalt.
Hell, Chewbacca, anyway. That's not to give.
Yeah, fix the goddamn hyperdrive.
I knew you'd get that reference, John.
It's a classic. It's a classic. But we're neglecting our guest. We need to introduce our guest formally.
Yes. Returning guest, hilarious comedian, fantastic actor. We had him back on years and years ago on the Beverly Hills Cop episode. He's here once again to talk more Eddie Murphy. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, clap your hands for Nigel Fullerton.
Woo! Hey, I'm back like I never left.
That's right.
That's really 60 odd episodes later, we bring you on back. So
we weren't sure how many episodes I was on of this podcast, but we know I was on at least one.
We were double checking, and we were like, Darren and I were both thinking it was more than it was, but apparently it's only been the Beverly Hills Cop episode episode 243.
Yeah, I think because I had you guys on my podcast, I think that's where the disconnect was, because it was kind of like in multiverse of SNL Nerds. I think that's what happened.
Okay,
because I've had Darren by himself, I think twice, and I think I had you on also once before as well. So I think that's what it is.
What did we talk about on your podcast? On the Murphy Mondays podcast.
I think Darren, the first one was Darren and I did Bowfinger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I had an SNL episode as well.
Okay.
But even though since then, since I've been on your podcast, I actually interviewed one of the writers of season 6 of SNL.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, he gave me like little tidbits about, basically how Eddie Murphy, because Eddie Murphy coming up there, he was just a background guy at first. He was making people laugh behind the scenes, but he was just doing background for like a good couple episodes until the one time where they were like, hey, we need somebody to fill in some time. And he jumped to the occasion.
Yeah, from what I remember hearing, it was like Neil Levy was really pushing for Eddie Murphy to be like on the cast because like he's the one that's like, oh, this guy's hilarious. We need to put him on the cast and in sketches. But I believe that was during the Dumanian years, and Gene wasn't too keen on having him on. He was very like hemming and hawing, like I don't know about this guy. So like that's why I think the first scene you see Eddie in, he's like you say, like a background. He has no lines. And
ironically, they didn't think he was funny.
I know I've read that Gene Dumanian wasn't too hot on him, which kind of shows that maybe she wasn't the best suited to produce SNL if she didn't spot the talent,
Yeah, no comedy.
She's like, no, I'm going to put my cards down on Denny Dillon and Charlie Rocket and
Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, but but how have you been, man? What's going on there, my friend? Are you doing all right?
Nothing much. I've been all right. I've taken kind of like a hiatus for a while. I was in a bad accident like a year ago. So I broke my arm, broke my ankle, pelvis, pierced my aorta. Like I was all out of sorts. But now I'm back.
Still good. That's no good. That's way too many broken and punctured body parts.
Yeah.
It's a loaded question when you ask, how are you?
Yeah, I just thought you'd be like, yeah, I'm okay, and then we could move on. But
no, yeah. I get it. If things aren't going so hot in your life, yeah, you do come to dread the question, "How are you?" So, because I'm just like, do you want me to really tell you? Because that's a 20-minute conversation, you know.
No, just say okay, give me that out, and we can continue on.
Yeah, exactly.
How's your pain level today?
Throbbing or dull? But I'm glad you're okay. We're all glad you're all right, and
we're glad you're on the mend. We're glad that the wildfires out in California seem to be leaving you alone.
Yeah, because I can't outrun them. I wouldn't be able to outrun them.
I thought the doctors would put you with like cybernetic parts, like
I actually do have cybernetic parts. I'm kind of like the Winter Soldier right now. No, I don't. But I have like metal plates and screws and stuff in my body.
Gentlemen, we could rebuild him, make him stronger, faster.
Yeah, you're like Wolverine, man.
I would like to say I'm like the Winter Soldier, but Wolverine would work as well.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, at the top of the episode, we mentioned we have some SNL news, some breaking news that came in.
Yes, SNL, they've announced, when they're coming back for, I guess, what you would call their mid-season premiere and their upcoming hosts. We've got next week, January 18th, because we're recording this on the 12th, and this will be in about a week's time. We've got Dave Chappelle and Glorilla.
Yes.
Who I am not familiar with. Are you familiar with Glorilla, Darren?
Yes, Glorilla. She's like this new rapper from Memphis. She's kind of on the come up. She's kind of blowing up. She's so hot right now. She's like
her real name is Glory Hallelujah.
Oh,
it is. Is it really?
It is. Her real name is Glory. Her real name is like her middle name is Hallelujah.
Oh, okay.
But her first name is Glory.
Okay, the middle name is Hallelujah. I thought her last name. Okay, no. All right. That's more believable. Glory Hallelujah.
Yes.
All right. All right. Also, Dave Chappelle hosting for the 4th time.
They love having him on after the elections.
They do. This will be around the inauguration, and I'm a little torn on this. I guess, because I mean, after his last appearance, where during the monologue he said what he said about the Jewish people and his history of saying things about trans people. Like I'm actually a little surprised that they brought him back. But
so am I. And I'd say his monologue after 2016, where he was like, "Hey, let's give Trump a chance," that probably hasn't aged that great.
No. So let's see what he has to say.
So what's he going to say? So I'm of two minds about it.
On one hand, I'm not wild about the direction Chappelle's taking his comedy lately. Like he seems to be more button pushing and more in your face and confrontational and a little bit more right leaning than I'd like. I mean, the fact that he had those 2 specials that brought up the trans thing seemed to be like unnecessary. And it's like, it seems like he only did it just because people told him he couldn't do it. And like, I don't feel like that's a great way to come from comedy. You should come
it's
from
not
comedy.
A very good reason to.
Yeah. Like you should come from it because you have something interesting and insightful to say and introspective to say. And he just seems to be more interested in being sort of combative than being funny. And like, I don't know, I'm just not super wild about his comedy. But on the other hand, I got to admit, on the last episode he did, it had some really funny sketches. Like Potato Hole was a good sketch. Barbershop was a good sketch. Black Heaven was a really good sketch. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm a little torn between it. Like I'm not gonna be looking forward to his monologue, but the rest of the episode I'm kind of interested in seeing. So I'm like,
I think the writing can often like take a jump up when Chappelle comes by because he is a strong comedic writer and I think he usually brings in a few of the old Chappelle Show writers like Neil Brennan
Yeah, for
along
sure.
with him. So
Yeah.
you can, it's like when John Mulaney comes back to host, you can feel the difference in the writing because it just gets a little more energized.
Yeah.
And then next week for January 25th, we've got Timothée Chalamet, or as my John Mulaney brain tends to think, that Timothée Chalamet son of a bitch. So
yeah, and he's doing double duty as host and musical guest, which
it boggles the mind.
yeah, because he's not a professional musician.
No,
So how
he just played Bob Dylan recently, and
yeah, and I mean that's as the show's done that before. Like I remember reading an article where that has happened where Lily Tomlin hosted and did a musical number and was a musical guest. Gary Busey hosted and did the musical guesting. Deion Sanders hosted and did a musical number, although he wasn't the official musical guest on his episode. I believe that was Bon Jovi, but it has happened. No, it's one.
That's just such a bizarre combo.
Like I don't think I've seen it in a while, but I remember. I mean, a lot of people in the SNL community will agree that his episode was like one of the worst episodes in SNL history. It was like pretty bad. But yeah, like Deion Sanders and Bon Jovi, that's a interesting combination. But it has happened where non-musical guest and non-musician has done the musical part of the show. So it's while it is a little not off kilter, I guess it's not out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I don't, honestly, I don't remember too much about when Chalamet hosted the last time or two that he's done it. I remember him doing that sketch where he was paired up with Pete Davidson.
Oh yeah, the two SoundCloud rappers,
Yeah,
Guap Lord and Young Smoke Cheddar the Ass Getter.
yeah, and I, like once for that was enough, and I didn't. Oh God, and we're probably going to get yet another tiny horse thing, aren't we?
Yeah, I put money on it.
Yeah, I didn't even really need to. So yeah, I can't say I'm particularly looking forward to the Chalamet episode.
I'm more interested in seeing exactly what he's going to do for the musical part. Like, is he just going to do his Bob Dylan impression? Is it going to be rap? Is it going to be hip hop? What's it going to be? Is it going to be folk? Is it going to be yodeling?
It's going to be weird,
know
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be like electro dance, fusion pop. What the fuck is he going to do?
Maybe he'll do like a whole Michael Flatley Lord of the Dance thing. I don't know. What sort of music does Timothée Chalamet do? Do I know? No. Do I care? Really, no.
Yeah. Nigel, any thoughts on this, on Chappelle and Chalamet?
I don't know who Timothée Chalamet is.
That's the correct answer. Yes.
I don't know. Is he Wonka? Is that the Wonka guy?
He's the new Wonka, and he's Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown, and he's in the Dune movies, none of which I've seen, but damn, this dude is everywhere.
I have not seen any of those movies. I think I saw a little bit of Wonka, but no. As for Dave Chappelle, I think I've heard of that guy.
Right. Sounds familiar.
I think the reason why they keep putting him on there is because they want people to watch, even regardless of whether or not he's going to say something controversial or not. People are still going to watch because it's Dave Chappelle. Now, if he does do something controversial and people write their think pieces on it, then that gives them more ratings than anything else. So they don't care. They don't care if he's controversial or not, or if he pisses somebody off. They need ratings. Like, they need people to watch. So that's why he's on there. As for the monologues this season have really been letting me down. I mean, I only watch a couple. Like, I still tune into SNL when it's somebody I like. Like, I watched when Chris Rock did his monologue. It was okay. I watched when Bill Burr did his. He's doing open mic stuff. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But I look for these guys to give me something special, and I think that's where I set myself up, because they're super famous, so they don't have open mics to go to, so they choose SNL as their open mic, which is hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. That's a fair point.
Yeah,
that is a fair point. So Yeah, so
But I'm watching. I'm going to watch. Like, and I want to see what sketches Chappelle's going to do. I hope he does some more stuff like from his first appearance on SNL rather than the last couple of ones. I mean, I'd like to see him bring back some of the Chappelle Show sketches or have Neil Brennan with him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, at this point, I think I'd be more interested in seeing Neil Brennan host because I just think that would be cool.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. I mean, I'd love to give that. He's a hilarious comic, and I do enjoy his stuff. So yeah, that would be cool. So, but we ain't getting him. We getting Chappelle and Chalamet.
He's not a rock star.
Yeah,
but I mean that's an excellent point about that they book some hosts because of the controversy. Because why else would you have Donald Trump? Why else would you have Elon Musk? Because
they need
they're not
ratings.
going to be good on the show.
Right.
But it's the curiosity factor, it's the train wreck factor, it's the think piece factor.
Yeah. What's he gonna say? What's he gonna do? How is he gonna anger me?
Should they have him on the show? Should they not have him on the show? And I'm just kind of fed up with hosts like that.
When's the last time they've actually banned someone from SNL? See?
Good question.
See?
I mean,
Martin
Steven
Lawrence?
Seagal, everyone hated him. They're not going to have him back, they said.
I think Martin Lawrence was the last person.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking 30 years. They have not banned anybody.
They kept Elvis Costello off for 12 years, but he came back when Mary Tyler Moore hosted around 1990.
Yeah, I know it was like around on the interwebs. They've been talking about how Adrian Brody was banned after he did that sort of
he decided to do a Rastafarian accent when he was introducing the musical guest for
but then I heard
no reason.
Yeah, but then I heard that's not true. Like he actually did that in dress and they were okay with it, he said he's not banned, but they just haven't asked him back.
Right, because he hasn't done anything that people are worthwhile to see. Like if he did something that was a big blockbuster movie, obviously they would have him on.
Nikki Glaser had a great line about him at the Golden Globes, though. She said, like, 2-time Holocaust survivor, Adrian Brody, which pretty funny. I watched her monologue. It was really funny. But hey, we should get to 48 Hours, I think, right?
Yes, that's the movie we're talking about today. 48 Hours, the big Eddie Murphy's first film, the big blockbuster smash hit that put him on the map, basically. Came out December 8th, 1982. Had a budget of $12 million, grossed $78 million. So not too bad.
Oh, that's more.
That is more.
Okay.
Written by Roger Spottswood, Walter Hill, Larry Gross, and Stephen E. D'Souza. Directed by Walter Hill, the man who also did Red Heat with Belushi and Schwarzenegger, Streets of Fire, Brewster's Millions, and the cult classic film The Warriors.
There you go.
Warriors. There you go. That's what I was waiting for.
Warriors,
there
come out and play. And that guy, Daniel Patrick Kelly, also in 48 Hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
And James Remar is like the villain. So, yeah.
I think Walter Hill did a lot of movies with James Remar and a couple other people that are in this movie.
He did like 3 or 4 with him. Yeah, I was reading on that. So, it's like his little production posse.
That was his go-to guy.
Yeah.
So 48 Hours, the film that, I mean, from what I've heard, a lot of people say kind of kickstarted or gave birth to the buddy cop film genre, which, I think I'd have to agree with because I don't remember ever.
It did. There is one that predates it. I don't remember the name of it. I think John, you might know because it was in the Wikipedia. The name of the other movie that predates this movie that was a buddy cop movie. It's irrelevant.
You got to give me a little more.
Well, there you go. That's exactly what it is. Like the movie's so irrelevant that nobody knows what the real name is. It's like Freebie and the Bean, I think it's called.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are those like Monday Morning Jocks? Shock Jocks?
No,
that's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like.
There are other buddy movies like I mean, I just recently, for the first time, I saw a movie with Clint Eastwood and Jeff Bridges from the '70s, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. They're not cops, but it's like a heist film, and that's
Right.
definitely a buddy film. And oddly enough, apparently Clint Eastwood was originally in the mix for this movie. They
Yeah.
wanted him to play the cop initially, but he was like, "No, I want to play a criminal." So
Mhm.
he decided to do Escape from Alcatraz instead, where he played a criminal in that. And then the movie went into turnaround for a few years. And they were talking about Gregory Hines. They were talking about Richard Pryor.
Can you
And then,
imagine Gregory Hines as Reggie Hammond?
no, I really can't.
Yeah.
I mean, not that Gregory Hines wasn't a good actor or anything, but it's just,
I don't.
yeah.
Every attempt that I guess he's made for comedy, I think there was that other buddy cop movie that he did with Billy Crystal.
Running Scared. Yeah.
Right. I could not see him playing Willie Biggs instead of, because that was the original name before Eddie Murphy changed the name. I couldn't see Gregory Hines doing that. I don't know Gregory Hines' work that well. I just know him as a tap dancer guy.
Right.
I mean, he's done a fair amount of like comedies and stuff. Like, wasn't he?
He has.
He was like in a Mel Brooks comedy. I feel like
he's been in a whole bunch of stuff, but I mean, like when we talk about a Gregory Hines movie, all I could tell you is Tap.
Tap and Running Scared, and
Tap and Running Scared.
He did a movie with Baryshnikov called White Nights, I think, and I think Baryshnikov was like this Russian dancer who wanted to defect. And I've never seen it either, but I just remember it. You know,
okay.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and he was in History of the World Part 1.
Okay. But like it's weird to me when they do these casting choices. So for instance, like 48 Hours, which we're getting to right now, Nick Nolte. And my thing is with Nick Nolte, it's cool.
Yeah.
What other movies do we know him for besides 48 Hours? What is bigger than 48 Hours that Nick Nolte has done?
Bigger? Not really anything. I mean, you know, he did. I know he did the miniseries Rich Man, Poor Man, which was like a big deal back in the day, but I don't know if that's terribly remembered these days.
I mean, you could say The Prince of Tides.
Yeah, that was pretty big. He did a movie with Julia Roberts, which is kind of infamous, just because apparently those two did not get along at all, and just were slagging each other in the press. But yeah, if you ask me to name a Nick Nolte movie, this is the first one I'm going to name.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
And that's my thing, because like when I think about this being Eddie Murphy's first movie, I think about how Nick Nolte was complaining because Eddie Murphy couldn't act, and you can see that in the first scene of when they first meet each other. Like Eddie Murphy's yelling all his dialogue, and you could tell like, hey, listen, he's just reading the lines, and something's up with this guy. But when you look at Nick Nolte's body of work before 48 Hours, it's mostly like one episode of TV shows and a couple pilots until he actually gets, this movie called The Deep, Who Will Stop the Rain, that's another one, and then North Dallas 40, which is probably his biggest movie out of the movies that I've named. So that's
a well-known football movie, and actually, Who Will Stop the Rain? That's on my list of movies I got to watch sometime soon. Yeah,
right. So in that, like the movies that he's only done about 4 movies before 48 Hours. So he's sitting here complaining about this guy who can't act, and they're like, well, we're just gonna have to do X, Y, and Z to make this whole thing work. I'm trying to figure out who was Nick Nolte before all of this.
I mean, he had to be doing okay for himself because he has top billing in this. You know, it's like Nick Nolte.
That's what I'm saying. For him to have top billing, for him to have top billing, who is this guy? The guy from North Dallas 40. That's the only thing I think that would make you say, okay, I'm gonna watch this for Nick Nolte. Because let's be clear, when they started filming this was in 1982. I read in the notes as well.
Yeah,
they started filming this in 1982. This is Eddie Murphy's second season, but this is his first full season. Because remember, season 6 of SNL was only 13 episodes. And it ended because of the writer's strike and what have you. But then you have, the 81-82 season. And at the end of the 82 season is when Eddie Murphy started filming 48 Hours.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like they didn't shoot with him for the first couple weeks because he was busy wrapping up the season.
Right.
And then they brought him on, and they were kind of like figuring out his character as they went, and they brought in one of the writers to kind of write for Eddie Moore, and they really just kind of discovered his character along the way. And I think the consensus seems to be that Murphy got more comfortable as they went.
Right.
And so some of his strongest scenes in the movie are after he had like a few weeks of shooting under his belt. And like him in the country bar, that's like a later scene that he shot.
Yeah, that's like the best scene in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see that.
Summarize. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say you can see like in the beginning of the movie he's a little bit tight, but like by the end of the movie, like he's like full Murphy.
He's looser.
He's looser. But so like so why did so since he was like a new up and coming star, like did anybody know like why the movie had to have him in this film? Like,
you want it, John, or should I take it?
You go ahead. You are a guest, sir.
All right.
Do it.
Basically, the director was banging Eddie Murphy's manager.
Yeah.
Which eventually they got married, but still, at the time,
she was his girlfriend, and she was like, "Hey, you want to cast this part? You should take a look at this guy, Eddie Murphy." And
my client.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how he got it. He got it through nepotism.
Good old fashioned nepotism. Pillow talk.
That's exactly how he got it. That's how he got his SAG card, he said.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. That's I mean it's shocking, but it's Hollywood, so it shouldn't be shocking.
Yeah. Hey, it worked, you know.
It shouldn't be, but that like Eddie Murphy has said it several times. Like the only thing that he's ever auditioned for was Saturday Night Live. He's never auditioned for any other movie.
Wow.
That is wild.
That's wild. And he was like 20 when he was shooting this movie.
He was 20 years old. Yeah. Which looks very old in 1982. I just want to point that out because I had to look up Nick Nolte's age.
Yeah, if I had to guess cold, I would not have guessed that Eddie Murphy was 20, but intellectually I know that he was that young.
Yeah, he had like a full-on mustache and shit. At 20?
Yeah. Okay. And an incredibly well-groomed mustache, considering he's been in prison for 2.5 years. I'm just like, wow, he's really keeping that up.
Yeah,
it's crazy to think that like a year prior to him shooting that, he was in Nassau Community College.
Yeah.
The glow up is real.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Okay, so the start of this movie, we've got a prisoner work detail. The prisoners are out; they're clearing out these train tracks, and then this guy in a truck pulls up. It's this huge Native American fellow. He's like, "Hey, my truck's overheating, and it's like 30 miles to the gas station. Can you guys help me out?" And he ends up like getting into a fight with one of the prisoners, who's like starts hurling racial epithets at him.
That's going to be a running theme.
Just to kind of ease us into all the racial epithets we're going to hear over the course of this movie.
This movie's so many slurs. This movie comes in hot.
It is.
I mean, it's a product of his time.
I know, but it's still like jarring, I guess, to hear like, wow. I know of the 80s, like it wasn't a big thing to say all those slurs, but to hear so many of them, it's just like, wow.
You know how many gay jokes are in this movie that I never noticed before?
Yeah. And hey, fun fact, this movie uses the F word 48 times. So
really?
Not intentional. Well, I read that on IMDb. I didn't count them up myself, but I'm
which F word?
For it. The swear word, not the the gay slur.
Oh, okay.
Although they worked that one in too.
Okay. Yeah, that one was in there too. So I was trying to figure it out.
We have something to insult everyone in this movie.
Equal opportunity.
Yeah.
That's the thing about this movie, because I haven't seen this movie in a while.
Yeah,
and I thought, like,
for me too.
Yeah, it's like, it's like a fun buddy cop movie, right?
This will be fun. Oh, N-bomb. Oh no.
Yeah, I just forget how like raw and gritty this film is at times. It's like it's not like a comedy at all.
The first 20 minutes are just like a straight up cop movie.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
but you know what's funny? And I go back to this being the first buddy cop movie. Paramount didn't think this was funny.
Well, they didn't
think-
like the early footage they were seeing of Eddie Murphy, but like apparently he got, his he got into his groove.
But they wanted to fire him.
Nervous by the end. Yeah.
Yeah, but they wanted to fire him, and like, coming from the dailies. So like, if you think about it, this being the first movie, what is a comedy and what is an action drama or whatever? And when you try to fuse it together, you're thinking that this is a comedy and there's no gags in it. There's no, like, when we think of comedy, we're thinking something like Airplane. Like, where are the gags? You have this movie, you're thinking more like Death Wish. So like, you're mixing Airplane and Death Wish together and trying to make 48 Hours. And you're not going to think it's funny, especially if you see a performance from Eddie Murphy, who is fairly new, but he's not giving you the gags. Most of his humor in the movie is black, white, this is what the brothers do. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of that versus, hey, take my wife, please. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing comedic for a critic to hold on to, or for a movie studio to hold on to.
See, white cops be going after the criminals like this.
In 1982,
go after,
Then he helps the people afterwards.
In 1982, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
White cops be like, "You're under arrest." But black cops like, "Yo, motherfucker, you're under arrest, man."
I mean,
that's hilarious.
It's sort of what we get. So we have these prisoners. The guy's buddy busts them out. They escape. Then we cut to our hero, quote unquote hero, Nick Nolte, waking up next to a Ned O'Toole. So he's doing all right for himself.
That.
And he's just all gravelly. He's like, what's going on? Let me pour this booze from my flask into my morning coffee.
Do you think he's really acting, or is that really who Nick Nolte is?
I don't know. Like, half the time, I feel like they just were shooting whatever the hell Nick Nolte was doing or saying on the set that day.
I don't think that was improv.
Ned O'Toole was like, should you really be doing that? And it may just be her speaking to Nick Nolte. It's a crappy way to start a day. Well, it's a crappy day already.
It starts off. And there's another thing I noticed about this movie where everybody, it's it feels like a very like angry movie. It's just because anytime that
everyone's pissed at everyone else in this movie.
Everybody is just right on the edge. Everything ends in an argument with everybody. Everybody, what the fuck you talking about, man? Like everybody's just on edge.
I think they did that on purpose. I think,
really?
And I read this in the Wikipedia also as well, where like they wanted it to be more relationship based rather than like cop based. So like the B storyline is basically the relationships between Nick and his girlfriend, or Nick and the police captain, who I will get to later.
And talk about him. But like Nick Nolte, he is like he's a cop on the edge. He's Jack Cates. He's this cop in San Francisco because it worked for Bullet and Dirty Harry, so he's doing it too. And he's just like, he's a cop on the edge, and he doesn't play by the rules. And he's got a crappy Mustang or
I think it's a Cadillac. It's like
a Cadillac.
That was it.
Yeah.
He's got a Cadillac.
Blue Cadillac.
Yeah.
Was San Francisco a tough town back then? I just want to know.
I feel like it's just a town they made a lot of cop movies in. Just it's a visually interesting city.
Right.
You can have a lot of car chases there. Bullet has that really famous one.
It looks like Buffalo with hills. That's
Buffalo.
And they got a nice bridge.
Yeah, the bridge. But besides that, you look at the towns. You're like, oh my god, where is this? The Wire?
So we got our bad guys. We got Gantz, who's played by James Remar, Billy Bear, who is the Native American fella, and they grabbed this third guy, Luther, who's played by Daniel Patrick Kelly, the guy that Warriors come out and play guy, and they used to be partners with Eddie Murphy's character, who we haven't seen yet, but like Reggie hid the money somewhere and the other guys don't know where it is.
Right. So they pull a gun on Luther and they say, well, you got to take us where the money is and we're going to hold your girlfriend hostage until we get that money.
Right. So many
And,
women held at gunpoint in this movie.
So many women are just like accessories in this film. It's pretty.
Yeah, the women do not have much. Like, Annette O'Toole has like nothing to do except be pissed at Nick Nolte. Like she, like halfway through the movie, she literally just calls up Nick Nolte to yell at him.
Yeah. Says fuck you and hangs up the phone.
and that's pretty much the last we see of Annette O'Toole in this movie. I'm just like, did she have more scenes that they cut out? What's going on?
Oh hell, she's mad at me again. God damn it. But yeah, so that happened, and also I think before that we see that Gans and Billy took somebody's credit card and made a call to they got a hotel room and they ordered some prostitutes.
They are procuring some sex workers. Yes.
And we know they're sex workers because they never wear any clothes.
That's right.
No. You know you're in an 80s movie when it's like just this level of gratuitous nudity where it's
like
just
why is she naked and he's watching cartoons? Like
yeah.
How do you spend your Saturdays?
and you know, because one of the guys, like a Native American guy, they're like, oh yeah, the girl's gotta be Indian. And then like when we see her, she's like wearing a vest with fringe and she's got the whole regalia on. It's
like wow.
The 80s
because they couldn't find any Native Americans.
They just got a Puerto Rican and be like, hey, put on this vest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They'll never know.
Okay, so you know, Gantz and Billy Bear, those are our villains. They come after this Luther guy. He's like, hey, I know where the money is. I can't get it till Monday. And so the bad guys say, okay, well, we'll kidnap your girlfriend. And you know, then we cut back to Nolte. He's doing cop stuff, and Jonathan Banks just pops up randomly.
Yeah, because I think Banks, you know, from, of course, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, him and his partner get a call about somebody using this person's credit card, Polson, and that's the name that Gantz gave the people over the phone. So they're going to investigate this credit card scam, and of course, it turns out to be Gantz and Billy. And we get like this big old shootout. And,
big old shootout, a little gratuitous nudity.
Yes.
Do sex workers hang around that much after they've finished, you know, what they came there to do?
You know, only if it's a gunfight.
They're just hanging out. They're just like you know, one of them's brushing their teeth, and one's like hanging out in the bed, like, you know, do you want to go again? You got some more money? And I'm just like.
You know,
I didn't know they were that sociable. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes they're like, "Hey, you want to hang out? Want to watch? Want to Netflix and chill? What's going on?"
I don't know.
There was a line I did like where the cops come in and they talk to the woman behind the desk, and the woman is like, "Hey, look, I can't have no more cops coming here. You guys got to leave." And then one of the cops says, "Hey, park your tongue, sweet pants."
Yeah.
Park your tongue, sweet pants.
Park your tongue, sweet pants. That should be our new sign off for the podcast. Park your tongue, sweet pants. So we get a big shootout with the cops, and you know, the bad guys, they're each holding one woman prisoner, so it's all equal, and they're having a stand with the cops, and they're like. And Nolte's like shooting at them while they're holding prisoners in front of them. I'm just like, I don't think that's okay.
I think Nick Nolte could have took those guys. There was two guns. Nick Nolte and Jonathan Banks both had guns against Billy Bear's one gun.
Yeah.
And Nick Nolte foolishly gives away his gun.
He surrenders his gun, which is that's crazy pants. That's nuts.
That's crazy sweet pants.
But I do want to preface this. Like every time I see Gans and Billy Bear, first off, they have 6 shooters and they fire 19 shots.
Oh well, you know that's
the one thing. The second thing is Gans's shooting pose is hilarious. If you ever watch any time that Gans is shooting the gun, he stretches before he shoots the gun. Yeah, he does aerobics.
You know, you gotta stay limber. But I do like how like Gans is definitely kind of just a tweaked out psycho. Like the way James Remar, like he's not the way James Remar played him. He's not like some brilliant criminal mastermind. He's just a maniac who likes shooting cops and wants to
Yeah.
get his money. Like according to trivia, James Remar often went without any sleep before shooting his scenes in order to give Gans a more washed out psychotic look. And I think it
Well,
worked.
I mean, mission accomplished. And he shoots Jonathan Banks's character. He shoots Mike Ehrmantraut. So we don't have any Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. So this guy's evil.
That's not the timeline.
I mean, I thought he did security for Victor Maitland.
Ooh, nice.
He did that too. I actually created a list on my Letterboxd profile of movies I've randomly seen Jonathan Banks pop up in, and I think this will be like the 4th or 5th movie. So, because that guy was a working actor for a long, long time before Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
I mean, he's in this. He's in Beverly Hills Cop. He's in Airplane. He's in a Peter Falk movie called The Cheap Detective, and I'm just like, oh, holy shit, that's Jonathan Banks. It's craziness.
Craziness. So yeah, at this point, both of the cops are dead. They got shot and killed, and now
they stole Nolte's gun because he gave it up stupidly.
Yeah, stupidly. So now Nolte goes back to the precinct where everybody screams at him for what happened, and like now they're all on the look for these 2 cop killers, which is a big serious deal. They find out about Gant and how he escaped.
But they seem pretty chill about it at the station. Like Nolte's still like joking around with one of the other cops, and I'm like, didn't like 2 guys just get killed here?
Yeah, it's just a regular day at the office.
It's nuts. But yeah, we have the quintessential loud black police captain.
Yeah,
I mean, this is
God damn it, Kate! The mayor's gonna have my ass.
Yeah. But we have to preface this by this being the first loud black captain, like of a trope of loud black captains, because you have
the guy who made it into a cliche. Yeah,
exactly. Right. Like, so by the time you get to Last Action Hero, like he's just playing himself from 48 Hours.
It's the same actor. Yeah, he's like spoofing a role that he started 10 years before, which is it's wild.
But I find it funny, and I said I was going to get back to Police Captain. I find it, this is how bad you see Cates. I'm not going to say Nick Nolte, but this is how racist Cates is.
Yeah.
Right? So he has a black police captain, but outside of the captain, he's calling Eddie Murphy watermelon and spear chucker.
Yeah. I mean, and those are aren't the worst ones.
Oh no.
Those are worse to me than just the N-word. Those are, to me, because like they're off-putting. Like, hey, wait a second, you calling me watermelon? What's that supposed to mean? Like that. Like I know what the N-word is. When you call me watermelon, like I gotta actually think. That's really gonna make me fight.
Hey, wait a minute, watermelon.
When you do psychological racism, that really burns my biscuits.
Yeah, that is what I mean. He explains. We'll get there, but yeah, he kind of makes amends for it, and sort of.
But they're questioning one of the sex workers who was there, witnessed the shootout, and she says about Gantz, our big villain. She says, "I think he likes shooting cops a lot more than he likes getting laid." And it's like, okay, a little peek into his life.
Yeah,
and Nick Nolte, he wants the case himself because Al was killed with my gun. That makes it personal. Yeah. And the captain literally says, like, you better watch your ass because everyone's watching us on this one. It is. I mean, it's so cliched now, but I guess it was still somewhat fresh in 1982. Maybe
it was somewhat fresh. They were making all the mistakes, like from a technical. I have a film degree, so like for me, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I would never shoot this shot. Like this needed to be edited. So like in my mind, I'm like, I'm trying to turn that off, but at the same time, like all of that is like exposition because they're just trying to set the scene, but it's like this is way too much talking in words.
Yeah, I'm just noticing all the writing, because like I've got more of a writing background. So
I mean, according to the trivia, that first scene in the police station, it was like it seemed like it was shot in a single take because the last 3 minutes were no visible cuts.
Yeah,
which may be why.
And man, that captain is coming in hot. He
hot.
like starts at 11 and doesn't take it down a notch for the entire course of the movie. He is always angry about something.
Like, ga, 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 ga. Just
Ah!
screaming like Mr. Spacely. Just so mad.
Yeah.
Mr.
Jetson!
Jetson! My office!
So Nolte has like this one slim lead. He's like, okay, well, they've got this old compatriot, Reggie Hammond. He's still in prison. I'm going to go see him in prison, and maybe he might have a lead I can follow. So he goes to prison, gets to see Reggie Hammond, and we got the famous scene of Eddie Murphy singing Roxanne.
Yeah, that's one scene, because like Eddie Murphy, he's in prison, singing Roxanne, listening to a Walkman, sitting in like a lazy boy recliner.
He has an easy chair in his cell. In the cell. How does that happen? I don't get that.
And a Walkman. The Walkman came out in 1979. Mm-hmm. This was 1982. So this is fairly new. Everybody doesn't have a Walkman as of yet, and you're telling me that a prisoner has a Walkman in jail.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they never explain how he got all the stuff in
Dude, there are pictures with picture frames on the wall.
Yeah, that's true.
An inmate, and this is my jail background, an inmate is not allowed to have any kind of pictures hanging up on the wall, let alone with
that's
glass.
Where you dig the hole behind the Rita Hayworth picture, and that's how you escape from Shawshank. You fall through 4 football fields of the foulest smelling filth, and
you're only supposed to tape them up, not put them in picture frames. So they made it look like a house.
Yeah, because that's glass that somebody can use as a weapon.
Exactly.
Set dressers are going wild. I mean, the easy chair was what got me. I was like, why does he have an easy chair in his cell?
I mean, I'm assuming they just thought it looked funny to see him, this be his big introduction in the movie.
It's just weird because we've had a fairly straightforward movie up until this point, and then Eddie comes on and we're in comedy universe now. Okay.
But fun fact, I just want to point this out. In the cell with him is one of Eddie Murphy's best friends, Clint Smith, who also was one of the barbers in Coming to America. He was also in the cell with him in Trading Places. It's Eddie Murphy's best friend. His name's Clint Smith. He was on the Murphy Monday podcast, if you go back to the Trading Places episode. But anyway, Clint Smith is like one of Eddie Murphy's best friends, and he's like in the background of a lot of stuff that Eddie Murphy did early on.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
Continue.
All right. So
Roosevelt's own.
Nolte comes in. He lays out the deal. He's like, look, you're here on a 3-year sentence. You got 6 months left. You got to help me find Gantz. And Reggie's like, well, hey, I got to be on the street to get Gantz.
Right.
He doesn't really ever say why. But, we find out later that, Reggie's basically after the money that he's stashed before he went into the joint. So.
Yeah.
So Nolte gets Murphy for 48 hours.
That's the name of the movie.
Yeah, he gets a pass, and then Reggie can lead him to Luther and the other guys, and then maybe he can find the guy who's running around with his stolen gun.
Yeah. But,
which Nolte never seems that worried about, honestly.
He's not. He's not.
And of course, as Nolte busts out Reggie. And, of course, he gives him the line, hey, look, we're not partners, we're not friends, we're not anything. You're just going to help me find Luther, and that's it. That's all between us. Like that.
Yeah. And if you don't, you're going to be sorry you ever met me. Eddie goes, I'm already sorry. And that's, I'm watching this, I'm like, how do they know, like, what Darren and I say to each other before the recording of every podcast?
Yeah. It's
dead on.
It's our mantra.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So at this point, Reggie tells Jack about Luther, saying, "Oh, you should go check out Luther because he would be the first person that Gantz goes to." So they drive to Luther's place. Jack handcuffs Reggie to the steering wheel so he can't get out.
Right.
And just immediately, Jack just busts into Luther's place, no warrant. And of course, Luther runs away from him shooting, and he runs past Reggie in the car, and Reggie's able to take him out with the car door.
Yeah, he pops open the door and Reggie runs into it and he's like, "Hey, Reggie, Luther, you okay?
Luther!
Look, that looked real painful when you ran into that door like that." So,
Yeah.
very funny.
No, nice. Yeah. So they're able to take Luther in on, I guess, shooting at a cop, and so they take him to the precinct. That's where Luther calls him cops the F word.
Yes, the F slur, I guess we should say.
The F slur,
to differentiate it from the profanity.
Yes, just
right.
Wow, just so many like it is. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm living in this 2025 world. It is like
it's probably that.
Yeah,
it's that, because as times grow and as we grow as people and time, we're gonna find stuff that is offensive that we never like. Listen, Soul Man was a big movie back in 1986.
Ooh. Oh boy!
Wait, is that not okay anymore?
I actually tried to rent it so I could watch it.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel that I discovered just recently that's called This Aged Great, where they just look at stuff from like a lot of 80s things, and they're just talking about how nuts they are. But yeah, they always make the case of like, hey, no, this is great, this is wonderful. Yeah, nothing wrong with this here.
Yeah, I think one time I jokingly said to John, "Hey, maybe we should do Soul Man for like Black History Month or something like that." And I mean, we could do it for the podcast because JLD, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, is in it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I did not know she was in it.
I'd forgotten that too. If we could get our hands on Soul Man, and we probably could find it streaming somewhere. It'd be interesting to talk about.
It is not streaming, but it is like, I remember actually saying I was going to buy it for like $5.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you might be able to find it on Tubi.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah,
everything on Tubi. Yeah. Anyway, at the precinct, we've got Eddie. He starts hitting on ladies of the evening, and by the way, he's like, Reggie's given like this really free reign. Like Nolte lets him out of his sight like so many times over the course of this movie.
Yeah, he is not on a short leash at all.
It is bonkers how often he's just like, "Oh, where's the convict? I don't know. He's here somewhere." And then like Nolte's off doing his own thing.
So at this point, after they take Luther in, they decide to try to find Billy Bear.
Right.
And so they go.
And Nolte has a scene where his girlfriend just calls him up to yell at him on the phone.
Yes, of course.
And he puts her on hold, and then.
I gotta put you on hold, baby.
Yeah, and then when he picks up again later, she like calls him an asshole and hangs up. Wow, there's some great character development for Annette O'Toole.
That's hilarious.
Poor Annette O'Toole.
She
has nothing in this movie, man.
Nothing. Like, she shows up in some skimpy outfits, calls McNulty an asshole, and that's it.
This is a movie about guys.
True.
Yeah.
If we wanted a movie about women, we would watch Fried Green Tomatoes.
Right.
Yeah. It's not going to be made for 9 years, but yeah, we know what you're about.
Because women don't make movies.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't know nothing about no movie making, right, boys? Right, guys?
Yeah.
But that was an interesting trope that they had, because if you look at a movie like Blues Brothers, like that same... this woman is so angry. She's so unhinged. Like, what is the deal? Like, why can't we just have them? Like, Cagney and Lacey was out around the time. Like, women can do things. I don't understand why it wasn't shown.
I don't know.
We can do it.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough.
I feel like Hollywood didn't realize women were any good until like about 1987 or so.
Working Girl?
Yeah, it was Working Girl.
5?
Yeah.
Kate and Allie?
Yeah. Kate and Allie just chipped away at that stone.
Right. Exactly.
So they go to the Mission District, and they go to this bar called Torchy's, and apparently that's a trademark of the director Walter Hill. He always puts a bar named Torchy's in his films.
Interesting.
I don't know why, but that's a thing with him.
Okay.
And they say that like Billy Bear, the Native American guy, he used to bartend there. So they're like, well,
Right.
maybe he'll drop in, or maybe somebody there has a lead.
Yeah, and like I think they like from the outside they're looking in. They're like, oh, I don't know if Reggie, I don't know if you can get away with going in here because this seems
Yeah.
maybe not your type of scene. But
Yeah, but
then
they're gonna make me as a cop.
yeah,
So
they're gonna make me as a cop. But then then Reggie says, hey, like I'm sure I can just go in there and get some information. It's all about just bravado and playing the part. And it's like I bet you if
right.
I get some information that gets us closer to nailing Gant and Billy, like you'll let me go out and get laid. Because like
Yeah,
that's
you look away for a half hour and then I
yeah.
can get laid because I've been in prison for 2.5 years.
Yeah, he's really wants. That's another thing about this movie. He really needs to
Yeah.
some coitus, as it
And
were.
and so Jack says, okay, and he actually gives Reggie his badge. Wild.
Yeah, you can't do. You're not supposed to do that if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, let's think about it like this. Nick Nolte drinks on the job. Why do you think he makes so many mistakes?
That's true.
This is true. This is a good point. This is a good point.
Yeah, drinking on the job is fine, but giving a guy your badge.
Like he comes in looking drunk every time he goes into that police station.
He literally every scene of this movie, it looks like they just rolled Nick Nolte onto the set, and then
He's a method actor.
He just rolled out of bed. I mean, he does have lovely, feathered.
Yes, his hair is very feathered,
hair.
And he has on bell bottoms. I don't know if you caught that.
And he's walking like a cowboy through the whole movie. He's just like waddling in every scene.
Yes.
It's wild. I mean, Nick Nolte in this movie he's a trip to watch. But they go into this country bar. It's this country bar. Everybody's dancing. They're having a big time. They've got like women dancing on the countertops, and they're wearing like chaps and star pasties.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like the reverse of the scene in Animal House, where they go see Otis Day, and they walk in, and everything stops dead. It's kind of like that, but with the races reverse.
Yeah, you see Confederate flags and everything. But I will say, this is probably, I mean, for me, this is probably like my favorite scene out of the whole movie, because this is where we really get to see Eddie shine. Like, this is where he really turns it on.
Yeah, this is like his first actual speech. This is the first time you actually see him fat. Ironically, Keenen Ivory Wayans has a story about when he first went to go see 48 Hours and he saw that scene. And prior to this, like if you think about what African-American actors looked like before this, they were more so Sidney Poitier or a Richard Roundtree, right? So you're coming out of the blaxploitation era where, the biggest superhero was Shaft, but that was 10 years ago, in between the movies. So now you have Eddie Murphy on the scene who comes off looking so cool, wearing this $957 suit around all these country rednecks.
Suit. Yeah.
Yeah. And Keenen Ivory Wayans said, when he said there's a new sheriff in town and his name is Reggie Hammond, that a star was born. People got up in the middle of the movie theater and stood and applauded that whole scene. All because, like, again, that is the scene where you see a movie star born.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy eats up this scene, and just like him saying, like, let's get one thing straight. I don't like white people, and I hate rednecks, and I'm your worst nightmare. I'm a black man with a badge.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good scene. Like, he plays it up really well. Like, at the same time, he is a little menacing because he he has to be, but at the same time, he does slip in some jokes here and there. Like, you said, like, I don't like white people. I don't know why
that's hilarious. But again, if you're Paramount, you're seeing this in the dailies. You're like, I don't find this funny at all. We're going to offend most of the states. We're only going to put this on 850 screens.
There's a Paramount executive just saying, what is that young Negro doing? I don't understand.
It's like, oh my God, Oklahoma will just have our heads for this.
We're going to have race riots.
Hate speech.
And then, again, Nolte, I'm just flabbergasted by Nick Nolte, because he, at one point, like before, when Murphy's still going around, he's like frisking people and stuff, and he's like trying to swipe their guns and their switchblades. Nolte just like walks out, leaves Murphy alone, unsupervised, and just waits outside by his car.
Yeah.
It's just, how do you know the guy's not going to try and slip out the back?
You know, it's been
He needed to get his flask.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, it's been 5 minutes since I've drank anything.
You know, Jack's known him for less than a day. He can trust him.
Yeah, it's wild. It is wild how much he leaves Eddie Murphy alone and just trusts him not to go anywhere. And Eddie Murphy I don't think he ever tries to escape in this movie, which is weird in itself.
Because he only has 6 months left.
Yeah.
I did the math. Like he was locked up in like 78, 79. And, so like now he only has 6 months left on, and he's done 2.5 years. So now, he's like, all right, well, I only have 6 months. I really just need to get my money.
Yeah. I mean, he wants his money. That is the excuse they give. But I'm just like, why is he giving him such a wide berth? It's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, it is for sure. But yeah, at this point, the bartender lets Eddie know that Billy, Billy's not here, but maybe you could talk to his girlfriend who lives like down the block in her apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can go harass her and see where she's at.
And when Reggie gets outside, he's like, hey, give me that switchblade and that gun that you palmed. And Reggie's like, oh, you noticed that, huh? So yeah, he's trying to put one over on Nick Nolte, and Nick Nolte's just like, yeah, whatever, pull the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the cops go to Billy's girlfriend's place.
Right.
I forget if they break in or they knock the door and they get in, but then
I'm going to say they break in.
Probably that seems to be their modus operandi. But they break in, and then the two girls kind of don't know who they are, so like they.
And by the way, the blonde one, Denise Crosby from Star Trek: The Next Generation. We got fucking Tasha Yar up in here.
Hey.
I didn't realize that. Oh wow!
And actually, I looked it up. The other actress was looking very familiar, and when I looked her up on IMDb, she actually has a Star Trek connection too. She's in a pretty famous episode called The Inner Light. She was Picard's imaginary wife in that. So
wow!
So we got two Star Trek Next Generation actresses in here. So
worlds colliding.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, that's great. So one of them has a gun on the cops, the other one has a baseball bat on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell them that they haven't seen Billy in 2 weeks. They don't know where he is. Tell him to get out. Again, just antagonistic, just right off the rip. Everybody's just so angry at everybody else.
Yeah, everybody's just apparently, like, when they were shooting this movie, I think one of the writers was like, "Oh, here's the secret. Like, neither of these guys have gotten laid in a long time, so they're crabby because of that." But
just rub one out, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
No need to be all this angry. Just
yeah,
pound it out.
When they get outside again, we got more insults.
Yeah, because at this point, Jack is upset. They're like, it's been a day, and we got no leads, and like the two of them get into a fight, and that's when we get slurred.
That fight is hilarious. Can I just tell you that Eddie Murphy is fighting in that Armani suit and white shoes? He's wearing white patent leather shoes.
Are they patent leather? I wasn't sure if he was wearing sneakers or not.
He's wearing white patent leather shoes, like Pops from the Wayans brothers.
Yeah,
they look like Tic Tacs.
And Nick Nolte just lets it rip going into this fight. He says like, "Oh, I'm here with an overdressed charcoal-colored loser like you," and I'm like, "Whoa,
God damn!"
That is, and there's an N-bomb. There's a
hard R,
a slur that starts with the word spear. It's not good.
Yeah, this movie ain't for the faint of heart.
No. He was trying to show that they weren't buddies or friends.
That's mission accomplished, Nick Nolte.
And then the two of them get into a straight up fist fight in the street.
And Nolte puts his gun on the hood of his car so that they can fight. Which that's another really stupid thing. I don't think that's okay.
They never said Nick Nolte was the best cop. They just said he was.
They shouldn't.
Yeah.
You can tell by his flask.
Yeah, you can tell by his flask and all the drinking and all the racial slurs but
you
can tell from so many reasons.
But again, like I keep saying, his boss is black. How how does that work for you? Like, it's okay, like, if you don't call your boss this, but then I'm gonna call everybody else out there because he's a convict.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he calls convict is what he calls him the most,
Right.
which is that's he's like convict, convict,
Yeah,
come here, convict.
Yeah.
So
they're fighting in the street. The cops come. They break
Yeah.
it up. Then he's like, I'm a cop. I'm just fight.
We don't believe you. He's like, nah, my badge and my gun are on my hood.
Right next to my flask.
I left him there where any passerby can pick him up. I've already lost one gun. I had to borrow this gun.
Yeah. And they let him go.
They let him go.
They're like, all right, you're cool.
Yeah.
So
after this, like, Reggie finally fesses up that he actually has $500,000 stashed from a drug dealer that all these guys rolled together. Let's see. I have another slur. Apparently, Nick Nolte calls calls him boy, which
he said boy in the beginning too.
Yeah,
he said boy in the beginning when he picked him up.
Yeah.
Look, if I try to write down every slur, I'm going to be here all day.
Are we playing a drinking game with the slurs? Or like,
if we were playing a drinking game with the slurs, we would be dead of alcohol poisoning by this point.
Hear a slur? Take a shot.
Yeah. So Reggie says, like, no, I've got all this money in the trunk of my car, and it's been parked in this parking garage for 2.5 years now. And it, like I said, it's $500,000, and according to IMDb, in 2024 dollars, that is $1,600,000. So it's like more than tripled in value.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So Reggie's like saying, like Luther or somebody will probably try to get the that money in my car. So we go to the garage, do a stakeout, wait for somebody to go in, then we follow him. And of course, Jack's like, well, why don't you just tell me that in the beginning? We didn't have to do all this other shit.
Yeah.
God damn it, Reggie.
God damn it, convict. What are you doing to me?
So they stake out the garage. The next morning, we see Luther going in to pick up the car, giving him the
Eddie Murphy falls asleep in the backseat. Nick Nolte leaves him alone again to go get like coffee and donuts the next morning.
Yeah. He really does, doesn't he?
He's okay. He's okay. Just asleep in the back seat of my car.
There's no way he's gonna wake up and escape.
Yeah, either leave the car or steal the car, or
you guys don't understand. He is the best cop on the force. That's why he has no partner.
He's the best.
Yeah, maybe all the other cops in his precinct are even more drunk and slovenly and racist than he is. Maybe he really is the best of a bad bunch.
This is the best that they have to offer.
This is why San Francisco is in the state it's in.
Yeah.
Wow. What state is that? California?
Yeah. Oh, damn, son. All right.
So they finally see Luther coming to the parking garage, the all right parking garage, because it opens up at 7. So now he can go get the money. I don't know why he tried this. He didn't try this during like the 2.5 years that Reggie was locked up and the other guys weren't in the picture. Because apparently, did Luther know this the whole time?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, that's true. That doesn't make sense. Why would he just?
So were we just on the honor system here? What's going on?
That's a good point. I don't know why he didn't.
I don't know. I just thought of this. Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't he do this like a year ago and just got out of town?
I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know.
All right. Well.
Yeah.
Plot hole.
I don't know.
All right. So Luther leaves with the car.
I know why. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? Why is that?
He couldn't go until they were actually open. They're not open on the weekends.
Yeah, no, I get that, but for 2.5 years he couldn't go.
Yeah, then I don't know.
There are other weekends within that year.
So Daniel Patrick Kelly, he pulls out in Eddie Murphy's old car, which is like really dusty because it's been in the place for 3 years.
Jack is following them inconspicuously in their sky blue Cadillac.
How does this guy not see Nick Nolte following him? Because he's just darting in and out of traffic.
He's seen the car before.
Yeah.
He got hit
He's
by
run
it.
into that car door.
I recognize that car door. Hold on.
And even if he doesn't spot Nick Nolte, he should know just from, because the composer James Horner, he is going nuts on the steel drums in the music for this movie. It's just like dun, 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 dun.
Yes, Wagwan.
It is more steel drums than anything this side of a Girls Gone Wild commercial.
Wow!
It is nuts.
Wow, that takes
crazy.
me there.
Yeah.
So then Luther pulls over with the money, goes into the subway. Reggie and Jack follow him. We see that Luther meets up with Gans at a platform.
Right.
Billy is still holding,
and he got the case of the money out of the trunk of the car.
Yes, exactly.
So he's going to turn it over to Gantz and Billy Bear so he can get his girlfriend back.
Exactly. So the deal's about to go down. Reggie and Jack follow them.
Right.
I think at this point, Gantz senses that something is off.
Right.
Then we see one of the subway cops pulls a gun on him and says, "Hey, right, stay right where you are." And then that's where Billy shoots that cop
because he sees that Gantz has sort of pulled his gun out.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
so then that's when Billy shoots that cop, and the woman Billy is holding screams, and everybody scatters and runs, and everybody it's a melee at this point. It's everybody running around.
Yeah, and there's a shootout, and Nolte chases him down to a subway platform. The guys get on the car. Nolte can't quite catch up, and then one of the subway cops is like, "Hey, you, Nick Nolte, brandishing a gun around. Don't do that." And the bad guys get away. And he's like, "I'm a cop."
God damn it!
And really? Because you just seem like a drunken mess. He's like, "I can be both things."
And somebody just shot my friends.
Yeah.
My badge is my badge is next to my flask. Come on.
Yeah. I lost my gun, but I kept my flask.
But my curiosity is that if Nick Nolte is such a great cop, how come none of these plainclothes cops know who Nick Nolte is?
And how come he doesn't have a partner? How come nobody else wants to work with him?
Fair enough.
Because he's a hot dog. He's a hot shot. They said it
He's
in
a
the
hot
beginning.
shot.
Yeah.
He's a rogue cop.
He doesn't like working with people.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'll write up a report tomorrow," and they're like, "We got to write up a report tonight." And he's like, "I'll do it tomorrow."
God,
he puts the dirty in Harry.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah. So at this point, now Reggie and Jack have split up because Reggie went to chase down Luther for the money, and now Jack got stopped by the cops while Gantz and Billy got away. So now Jack is back at the precinct.
Right.
He has no idea
and
where
at
Reggie
no point does he say, "Hey, I wonder where Reggie is. I wonder what he's doing. I'm sure it's fine."
It'll be fine.
I'm sure he hasn't skipped town or anything like that.
He's waiting for the phone call.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He's waiting for Reggie to call. He says it.
So nuts. That's so nuts.
He says it. He's like, "I'm waiting for a call," and he's waiting for Reggie's call. And then Kehoe, who he's like, "Oh yes, some guy, I heard some soul brother beat you up." and then oh yeah,
that's not how it went.
Check it out now, the folk soul brother.
But I'm flabbergasted that Reggie has not escaped 10 times already. I mean, he's hanging on for the money, but
he has 6 months to get out of jail.
Yeah, and then Nolte gets the call, from Reggie at the station, and so he goes to meet him up at this jazz club where Reggie's trying to pick up women because he's still trying to get laid, and then we see like 3 cuts of Nolte driving to this club. He's going through a tunnel to get there. I'm like, how far away were you from this place? It's insane.
San Francisco's a big city.
The place that they go to, I wish I was grown at the time. I've been to clubs. I've never been to a club where everyone has suits on and they're dancing. My dad used to dress up like Reggie Hammond, back in the day. I remember him with a pinstripe gray suit and the shoes and stuff. So watching everybody dance, I've never been to a blues club where everybody's just going in and like that looks like a fun club to be at.
That's true.
Yeah, we got music from the Bus Boys.
Woo!
They're singing the song "The Boys Are Back in Town." We hear a lot of that in this movie.
They sing 2 songs, but like it's a lot of Bus Boys. Like it's a good like 7 minutes of Busboy songs.
Yeah, it just suddenly becomes like a Busboys music video, and we discovered that the Busboys were actually a musical guest on SNL in January of '83, and the hosts were Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas from SCTV, which is that's wild.
Yeah,
what a matchup that is.
Yeah, just like the blackest band in town with 2 of the whitest hosts. You can.
But Saturday Night Live is known for that, though. They're known for not having the guests. Like. So here's my thing, right? That same season, you had Nick Nolte host, which obviously he was too drunk to host. But he was
supposed to host.
He was supposed to host, right?
Right.
How come the musical guest wasn't the Busboys?
I don't know. Yeah. Instead, we have Lionel Richie. And then Eddie Murphy, this is for the December 11th show from 1982. So right after 48 Hours opened up. And Eddie Murphy does like a cold open. He explains how Nick Nolte's ill. So Eddie Murphy's just going to take over and he introduces the Eddie Murphy show.
But the infamous Eddie Murphy show. But I guarantee that song was popular before the movie came out. Like I guarantee like they were playing that song on the radio and it was heating up. I guarantee you that weekend when people saw the movie and they're like, oh, well, we gotta pick up these Busboys. Like it has to be, I don't know when Delirious was shot or came out. I think it was either 82. It was like
84? Or no. Shot that early? 82? Okay.
I want to say it was shot in 82, but I'm not sure when it was released. But even still, you should have had the Busboys as your musical act when that movie came out.
Fair enough.
I'm just saying.
It wasn't that long after because we're talking only about a month or 6 weeks after the movie was out, and I'm sure it was still in theaters at that point. So.
Yeah, no, I get that. It just like I said, it's just the timing of it.
The iron was hot.
Yeah. Like the Busboys could have had a second single.
True. All right, so I just looked it up. So Delirious was recorded in DC on August 17th and 18th in 1983.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and before the show, that's when the Busboys performed "Boys Are Back in Town."
Yeah.
So anyway, okay. So when Nick Nolte he gets to the club, and it's sort of a reverse of what we saw in the country club earlier. So now Nolte's the fish out of the water, and he lets Reggie keep the gun that he's gotten, which again insane.
Yeah. So so he meets up with Reggie, who's trying to get trying to get some laid, trying to get some trim, I believe they say, or
they call it trim.
Gambo,
yes, they do.
Which I've never heard it called that before.
I'm learning so much in this movie.
Were you in a club in 1982?
I was.
Well, I was 10, so no.
No excuse, John.
No excuse.
I was not tearing up the nightlife at 10 years old. Or at 20, if I'm going to be real.
But yeah, so Jack meets up with Reggie, and Reggie tells him that he found out that Luther is across the street at a hotel, and he's going to exchange the money for his girl in the morning. So they just have to stake out the place, wait for Luther to come out, and then they got him.
And Nolte does like his version of an apology. He's like, hey, look, N-word and watermelon, I didn't mean all that stuff. I just had to like keep you down.
The lamest apology I've ever heard of.
Because you're a convict and I'm a cop, and also I'm really racist.
Yeah, you're one of the good ones though.
And did we skip over the scene where the black captain actually drops an N-bomb on Reggie too?
Oh,
Have we gotten to that yet?
That comes up next after what happens.
That comes up next.
Up. Yeah.
Okay.
Because what happens
All
next...
right. I just wanted to make sure we didn't skip over that.
No, that was hilarious. We can't skip over that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So while they're waiting, Reggie is like, "Hey, I met up with this girl Candy, and she's down to
Hmm.
clown, but I got no money for a motel room. Can you give me some money so I can, you know, have a erotic evening?" And
Yeah.
so Jack gives him some money. They go across the street, and then they see that Luther's actually leaving, and with the briefcase of money, he's on the move. So
Right.
he's like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit, we got to go." So
Yeah.
him and Jack go chase after Luther. Luther gets on a bus driven by Billy. No one else on the bus but Billy, Gantz, and Luther's girlfriend. I don't know how they got hold of
Right.
a bus, but
I
somehow
don't
they
know. I guess they just stole a bus somehow. Yeah. I don't
yeah,
know.
they're just on the streets,
Yeah.
I guess.
Well,
And
they have a cop's gun, so yeah, I guess it was easy to steal a bus from
Mm.
somewhere.
yeah,
I don't know.
so
Anyway, so yeah, Gantz shoots Luther, because like Luther says like, "Hey, my girlfriend, are you okay?" And Gantz is like, "Hey, didn't I give you my word that I wouldn't hurt her?
I'm
What, are
insulted.
my words not good enough for you? I stole a cop's gun and everything.
How dare you? How dare you insult me like this? My
How
credibility.
dare you insult me, my good sir? we shall have sabers at dawn."
So Gantz shoots Luther dead, takes the money, and at this point, that's where Reg and Jack are speeding up in their Cadillac and try to chase him down and like smash their car
Right.
against the bus, and then the bus smashes the car back, and it hits him so hard that the Cadillac goes right through like a storefront window, and the guys get away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's when they go back to the precinct, and
Right.
the chief is furious.
Yeah. He was at 11 before. He's at like a 12 or a 13 now.
Yeah,
It's wow.
and
And he calls Reggie the N-word, and he's like, "Yeah, I said it."
that was
Which is, it's kind of hilarious.
it is. That's a damn funny line.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it's like, yeah, I said it. Like, wow.
Yeah. And this point, Nolte's developed enough of a liking for Reggie that he actually sticks up for him. He's like, "Hey, that guy's got more brains than you'll ever know. And he's got more guts than any partner I've ever had."
Right.
Ironically,
And
that's
yeah.
the same way Nick Nolte stuck up for Eddie Murphy to still be in this movie.
Really?
From what I heard, like that's basically, Nick Nolte complained about Eddie Murphy in the beginning, and then toward the end of the movie when they were trying to fire Eddie Murphy from the movie, Nick Nolte and Walter Hill like stuck up for Eddie Murphy to still be in it.
Wow.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Life imitates art.
There you go.
Yeah. So at this point, our heroes are defeated, and Jack is like, "Well, I probably should take you back to prison, because
No, he's ordered to take Reggie.
he's
back
ordered
to
to take
prison.
he's ordered to take him back to prison. The bad guys get away. No one knows where they are.
Right.
But he stops at a bar to get him a goodbye drink.
Yeah. Well, as soon as they get outside, he throws away the handcuffs.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
could just like take them off and like put them in your pocket, but no, just throw them away. That's more dramatic.
Symbolic gesture, John.
Yeah, and he's like, "Come on, I'll buy you a drink," as like a going away, as a goodbye gesture.
So he buys him a drink at the bar. Jack calls Kehoe, asking, "Has anybody heard anything about Gantz?"
Who's his cop buddy? Yeah.
Yeah, his cop buddy. It's played by this character actor who's been around forever.
Brian James, he's in Blade Runner. He plays Leon in Blade Runner.
Yes.
The first replicant. He's in one of my favorite movies, The Player. He's like the head of the studio in The Player. It's just I'm always happy when I see him pop up in stuff. Yeah, he's great.
He's always around. But yeah, Kehoe says, yeah, no one, all the airports, bus station, no sign of Gantz or Billy. We don't know where they are. They're
Right.
gone, man. So it seems like it's a wrap. That's it. But then I think it's Jack who gets the hunch. Like, well, maybe they'll go back to their girlfriend's apartment. Maybe Billy will go back to his girlfriend's apartment in Chinatown, because I think
because everyone in this movie is so sexually frustrated. Everyone's just always trying to,
everybody's got to
get something going on.
Got to bust that nut. So yeah, I think it's either Jack or Reg. It's like, yeah, every bad guy usually goes back to their old lady once in a while. So maybe, just maybe, Billy will go back to see his ex. So just based on that hunch,
And
they do it.
they're right. Yes,
Yeah.
they go back. It's the most random ending. Like they don't really do any sort of detective work or anything to
No.
track them down. They're just like, hey,
No.
let's have a hunch. I think these guys want to get laid. Let's go back to those women who were extremely hostile to us earlier in the movie and who hated those guys and everything they stood for. And they go back and yeah, they're both having sex with the guys.
Yep. Like a lucky break.
Yeah.
And of course, they stake out the apartment in Chinatown. They see Billy's girlfriend go in, and immediately Jack just bursts into the door, pulls a gun on the woman, and saying, "Hey, is Billy and Gantz up there or what?"
Right.
And yeah, it's like you say, yeah, they're up there, and just guns are blazing. Like I think at one point Reggie has a gun on Billy, saying, "Hey, don't do it, man, don't do it." And Billy's about to attack him, and Reggie shoots Billy dead. We get this,
and that's something I learned. Apparently, you're 100% allowed to just shoot other people dead as long as you're accompanied by a cop, which I didn't know. That's cool.
They're the bad guys, John, so it's okay.
It doesn't add on any time to his sentence or anything, I guess.
But
it kind of did. In another 48 hours.
Because they made the sequel 8 years later? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
So then we see Gantz with his lady. Of course, she's topless. And
right.
I think Gantz,
because it's the 80s and we have to have gratuitous nudity.
We got it. Just got it. Got to see some honkers. So
some honkers.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it clean, boys. So Gantz makes his escape. He jumps out the window, dives out into the alleyway.
Yeah.
Reggie and Jack chase after him, and then we have our big climactic scene, the big standoff.
Right.
And
Nolte just blows Gantz away.
Yeah, very much. I think at one point,
I mean, just cause it's like the movie's almost over and we gotta end this. I'm like, why are you using lethal force now? Okay, all right.
Because he's a maniac, and that's how you take care of the criminal element. You don't law schmaw. Just blow them away.
He's a maniac on the floor, and he is dancing like he has never danced before.
Now you're getting it.
Hilarious.
But yeah, like at one point, Gantz is able to get the drop on Reggie, and he takes Reggie hostage because that seems to be his move. Just take somebody hostage and hold a gun on them. And
I mean, so much of this movie is just taking hostages, and then shooting around the hostages, and
and
I don't know why anybody takes hostages because, like, it never seems to make any difference. They just get shot at anyway.
Well, I don't know if you know the original script for this movie. It was supposed to be a hostage situation, and they had a bomb attached to this girl for 48 hours.
I think it was like the mayor's daughter or something like that.
Yeah, it was like the mayor or governor's daughter, yeah.
You were supposed to set her off in 48 hours. It sounds completely different from what we got. And I mean, equally insane in its own way. But
So that's it. Like Jack is able to take out Gantz, just straight up shoot him and blow him away.
Right.
And then that's it. To Reggie coming out of his hotel room with the girl Candy he met at the bar. They've just had,
So yay, murder's okay when the cops do it.
Yep.
Yay.
That's it, yay. Reggie just.
I mean, good thing we got that gun away from that guy who would have just used it to indiscriminately shoot people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Nick Nolte's job.
That guy was a maniac. Nick Nolte's a hero.
Yeah. That guy was a danger to the public.
But this guy, he's all right. So then Reggie.
Let's keep the guns in the hands of the alcoholic cops where they belong.
God damn it! Yeah. So after Reggie's done, just blowing his load, he goes meets with Jack, and Jack agrees to let Reggie keep the money. He's like, I'm just gonna leave it in the trunk of your car. It'll be here in 6 months when you get out. It's like, I'm not taking anything.
And Reggie's like, you're not going to get a cut. I'm not going to have any time added on to my sentence because I did straight up kill a guy not like 20 minutes ago.
You could say it was self-defense. You could say.
I guess so. Yeah, he was, but
he did have a knife. I don't know. Look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's so weird.
But yeah,
This movie.
it's a wild one. But yeah, so Jack says he won't take any of Reggie's money, but he said, "Well, I could use a new car though." And then Reggie's like, "All right, I'll get you a new car once you get out." And then the two of them drive off, not totally friends, but they definitely have a bit of a bond. And that's the film. 48 hours.
That's it. Yeah.
Wow. Wowee. Oh, actually, a little bit of trivia, which
80.
is something I didn't even notice till I read this trivia. So the woman that got that Gans kidnapped, Luther's girlfriend, her fate is never revealed.
Yeah.
According to the trivia, after Luther is killed by Gans on the bus.
Yeah, she just straight up disappears after the bus scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't see her again.
Yeah, because she's not in the apartment with Gans and Billy Bear. So she just kind of went home, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, she's like, oh, well, I guess Luther's dead, so I guess I'm single again.
Can I get a ride home, guys? Can I get a ride?
Yeah. Maybe she just drove that bus home. I don't know. It's so weird. It's so weird. Yeah, you're not thinking about it, but yeah, she just straight up disappears.
Yeah. It's just parked in front of her apartment when she gets home. It's like, hey, is that your bus parked outside?
Maybe I'm a bus driver now. I don't know.
But yeah, overall, I mean, yes, it is, I guess, problematic by today's standards, but it is an enjoyable movie. I did get a kick out.
It is fun by like those 80 cop movies standards. I mean, I did enjoy watching and revisiting it. I mean, while also recognizing how kind of insane it is.
It's pretty wild.
So, yeah.
Nigel, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. What'd you think, Nigel?
I mean, I still liked it. I watched it right before I got on here because I was all the way at the end. I didn't catch the end of the movie, but I've seen it so many times that like I still like, regardless of whether I agree with the language that was in this, I still take it for what time it was and how it was perceived, and I still enjoy watching it. Like I this is a birth of something that did not happen before. There wasn't too many buddy cop movies. There wasn't too many action comedies. Like let's be real. This is the original, the origin of it. And whether you say it was Walter Hill that did this, or whether you say the producers did it, or Eddie Murphy or Nick Nolte started it, who knows? But either way, it was a new genre that happened, that kept happening. And most of the movies that you like Eddie Murphy for are action comedies. They're not particularly supposed to be a comedy. It's always a hybrid of some sorts that we never had before this happening.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think Eddie Murphy's performance in this is undeniable. It is absolutely a star-making performance. You totally understand why he became so huge after this. And then, after this, we have Trading Places and Beverly Hills Cop.
You missed Best Defense.
Oh, boy.
Let's not talk about Best Defense. Yes, intentionally so.
Oh, boy.
Can I ask a question, though? I like, because I remember you saying about Eddie Murphy and saying how, like, you mostly think the hits happened, like, for him in the 80s, which is okay. But what can we say to a Dudley Moore?
Well, I'd say his biggest hits. I'll amend that. I'm not going to say his only hits were in the 80s.
But what can we say to, like, a Dudley Moore?
That's a good point.
What do we say about him?
You got Arthur.
Yeah.
And
then what?
10, which
was like, before Arthur.
Yeah, that was like 79 or so.
Yeah.
And he kept working.
There you go.
That's the thing. Like, so I always make this argument, and I always say this, like, everybody's, they kind of, there's two actors that I feel that most people talk shit about, and excuse my language, but there's two actors. There's Adam Sandler and Eddie Murphy, and they complain about the amount of movies. Now Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. Talk shit about Adam Sandler. They say Adam Sandler not a good actor. They say Adam Sandler coasting. Not like the Timothy Chalamet.
But That's the thing. Like, so it's
Mhm.
people talk about it, but like nobody talks about how many movies Martin Short has bombed in, or how many movies
Mhm.
Billy Crystal has bombed in, or the comedies that Robin Williams has done that people
Mhm.
forget about. Most of the movies that we like from Robin Williams aren't comedies. They aren't particularly comedies, except for Mrs. Doubtfire. Besides that one, you're not saying Club Paradise is on my number one top movies for comedies. You're not
Well,
saying
you're
that.
not, sir.
I'm just saying, like, especially in the case of like a Bill Murray, where Bill Murray,
Mhm.
most of his movies that people love, the big ones, are in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, you're not telling me that his other movies you're loving, or same thing with Steve Martin. You're not telling me that Mixed Nuts is on your top movies that Steve Martin has done. Most of the movies that everyone has done, that everyone has loved, has been in the 80s. When we get to the 90s and 2000s and so on and so forth, they had a lot of duds. I'm not saying Cheaper by the Dozen is a great movie, but I'm not saying it was bad either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think just for most people, it's we remember the really good ones, we remember the really big hits, and the lesser movies they just kind of fade in the memory.
Yeah.
So,
But why do we do it? Like, for instance, Dan Aykroyd.
mhm,
If
I've
you
heard of
can
them.
tell, how many movies starring Dan Aykroyd have we said, okay, that was great?
Yeah, he's never been. I don't want to say like he's never been a starring. He definitely works more in
Sir, this is
ensemble.
Dr. Detroit Erasure,
Oh
and
wow,
I will not stand for it.
wow.
I'm saying Dr. Detroit, I like in a specific place, but I know it's not a good movie.
I've honestly never seen Dr. Detroit all the way
You've
through.
never, it's pretty bad. But like I'm
We'll get
saying,
there someday.
Someday.
but I'm saying, like, it's like you can't tell me that Dan Aykroyd has the same career as Chevy Chase, even though most of even though on the on the same parallel shift, they're kind of neck and neck. You know, you can give Chevy Chase has a Fletch, and Dan Aykroyd
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, he doesn't have like a big solo movie.
Right.
I mean, I guess
But
the only
but
reason.
again,
Yeah.
the man co-wrote Ghostbusters. I don't think you can discount that.
I'm
I
not
mean,
I'm not discounting it. What I'm saying is I'm putting it on a way where, like, if you said that Eddie Murphy co-wrote whatever movie that you like, okay, great. That puts that there, but then you have all the other movies that you're like,
mhm.
oh, but this one, but that one. But I'm like, every actor that has acted for 40 years has a lot of bombs, a lot of
Oh,
stinkers,
absolutely. Yeah,
movies hit
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
miss. But the only ones that we go after are the Adam Sandler and the Eddie Murphy. Nobody else gets the same flack or criticism.
I mean,
Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider gets
Oh,
a
he
lot of
never
credit.
had a successful movie by himself besides Deuce Bigelow.
well,
Yeah.
oof. But I mean, I guess the only. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Nigel. I guess maybe the only reason I can think of that people would maybe go after Eddie and Adam like that is maybe because of the fact that they both got success really young in life.
Mhm.
Like, like
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy got popped off at 20, and Adam Sandler was fairly young when he popped off. Pete Davidson, he got success fairly young in life, and people were very critical about him as well. So maybe that's the only reason why.
I mean,
I don't
they
know.
have a reason with Pete Davidson, but I digress. I have no Pete Davidson
Ooh.
beef.
I look, I mean, I think it's like a different sort of thing between Eddie Murphy and Adam Sandler. I think Eddie Murphy we can be disappointed in because we know he's capable of more. And Sandler, maybe we're disappointed in because he's had such massive success on, let's say, a limited bag of tricks.
But I could say the same thing about Steve Martin and Sergeant Bilko.
Sure.
I could say the
Well,
same thing about
yeah.
Chris Rock's movie career.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, look, half of for the last couple of decades, half of Steve Martin's movie career, is just like let me earn enough money that I can buy this painting.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure that's
Exactly.
half of.
But why
what he's done.
why are we holding him up to that stand. Like I'm saying, Steve Martin boomed in the 70s. We're still holding him in high regard from back then till now. Everybody wants to erase all of his flops, all of his mistakes. Same thing with Bill Murray. We erase Larger Than Life that never happened. We erase all these other movies that were bad, and we still keep them at a high pedestal. We don't do that with Eddie Murphy. Now, Adam Sandler, I can get because there's a lot of bad quality that he puts out.
Yeah.
But again, he's kind of like Ernest. You remember those Ernest goes to camp and Ernest does this and Ernest does that? He's kind of like that, to me, because he has a fan base that he's trying to feed. His fan base likes the dumb characters that he does. His fan base wants to see Happy Gilmore too. And I get that. But it's different when it comes to an Eddie Murphy. And that's why I kind of did the podcast, because I was like, all right, this man actually tried and did stuff that was different. Now, whether it was received better than other things, that's neither here nor there. I mean, granted, he has had movies that like I can't sit down and watch. But I also recognize the fact that, hey, I have 11 kids. I need to do movies that my kids can watch at some point. Hey, I'm 60 years old. I can't run around and be Axel Foley like people want me to be, because granted, Beverly Hills Cop 4 wasn't the best, but it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? It wasn't Beverly Hills Cop 3, but at the same token, people wanted another Beverly Hills Cop movie. They wanted another Coming to America. He just said, all right, fine. I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
All right, fair enough. Wow, fair enough, man.
I don't know anybody that didn't want, on paper, that didn't want another Coming to America. On paper, I'm just saying, the movie was the movie. I can't absolve that. What I'm saying is, people actually wanted this. People actually wanted another Beverly Hills Cop. People said, hey, I like the movies from the 80s. I can't see Bill Murray trying to recreate Stripes right about now.
No, not at his age.
But again,
but he's still showing up for every Ghostbusters reboot that they're doing. So.
Exactly, because the people want the Ghostbusters movies. It's not that like the Ghostbusters 2016, people went to see it because of the name Ghostbusters, but not because of who was in it per se. Whatever the movie did or was, they were going to hate on it regardless, because it wasn't what they were used to. People are fickle, and that's really, at the end of the day, that's really what it is. The reason why you hold up one person over the other is because people are fickle. They want to excuse one thing, but harp on another thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I appreciate that, Nigel. Passion speech. I love to hear that. That's pretty good. Well, let's put it out to the people. We put out the word on our social medias that we were doing 48 hours. Mm-hmm. We heard back from Shari Fesco on Facebook, and she says, "Ooh, this is a goodie. The movie that made Eddie a superstar. I think this is in my top 5 Eddie movies. He and Nick have such great chemistry. Interesting that they both made questionable choices later in their lives." Oh, okay.
See,
Eddie seems to have made a turnaround. Not so sure about Nick. Keep up the great work. Always look forward to a new episode. So there you go.
Well, thank you, Shari.
Thank you.
Appreciate the kind words. I don't know. I kind of lost track of what's going on with Nick Nolte. I don't know if he's living away or if he's retired.
He's still acting. There's a lot of movies. Right. When I said that thing about Nick Nolte earlier, I was just being a jerk. I know movies he's been in. I Love Trouble is the movie that you were referencing with Julia Roberts. Blue Chips, which holds a special place in my heart.
Cape Fear, he was in?
Cape Fear. He was in the original
remake of Cape Fear. Yeah, I love that. I want to revisit that sometime soon. Yeah, I remember that being really good.
Tropic Thunder.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which we covered on the podcast. Yep.
Yeah, the Hulk movie, the original Hulk movie from 2003.
We shall not speak of the Hulk poodles. No, no.
I mean, it was what it was, but You know, this guy was also
and that was around the time he took the mug shot. I mean, probably the all-time best mug shot.
Yes.
The hair, the Hawaiian shirt, that's just chef's kiss.
Oof. The infamous mug shot.
You mean this he's basically playing the same person he was in every single movie he's done.
Well, I mean, but the hair in 48 Hours is undeniably excellent. He's just got. It's like 1982. It was early enough in the 80s that you could still get away with those feathered 70s dudes, and it's incredible
because there's a lot of wide collars in that bar that they went to where the busboys were playing. A lot of wide collars happening. A lot of the
70s hung on to like 1983. Really,
it did. It definitely did.
Yeah,
it definitely did.
It did. Yeah, it was petering out around that time.
Yeah,
for sure.
Which happens with most when you go out of one decade into another.
Yeah.
Yep. It just bleeds. It bleeds one into the other. Absolutely. You know.
And I guess that's our episode, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast as always, folks. Nigel, thanks for doing our podcast and adding so much to this episode. You came through.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
What?
I said no. You really came through. You really did some amazing. You added so much to this episode, good sir.
I'd like to think you were like the angry police captain of this episode. You know,
God damn it!
They're just yelling at us to do our jobs, and we don't play by the rules, and people are shooting other podcasts with our gun. The metaphor kind of falls apart the more I talk about it, but still,
you call me the N-word. Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, better him than me, Garrett. That's what I say.
Yeah, I said it.
I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy you called me for this movie instead of another 48 Hours.
Ooh.
So
I've never seen that. Is that? I guess that's no.
You've never seen another 48 Hours?
I have not. No.
I have seen certain bits of Another 48 Hours many, many times because when that came out in like 1990, I was working a summer job in a movie theater.
Okay.
And like during your breaks in a movie theater, you'd usually just like pop your head into the theater and watch like 10, 15 minutes of the movie.
Okay.
But you'd usually see the same 10 or 15 minutes a lot. So I'm sure if we cover that at some point, bits of that movie will be very, very familiar to me. Another bit
it's kind of insane. The only reason because they edited the movie a lot. So there's a lot of like plot that was taken out of it that you're like, okay, how am I supposed to follow this? And it's like, I think it's like Billy Bear's brother or cousin or something like that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff with Kehoe and, there's a lot of like stuff that's missing.
Stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that's missing from that movie. It's not for the time. It's okay. I won't say it's like, oh my God, why am I watching this? Like, it's not as good as 48 Hours, which obviously it's a sequel. But it's a movie.
Wow, rave review.
It is a movie. I
don't.
Moving images shot in sequence and edited together to try and sort of make sense, maybe.
You know what it was, though? It was Eddie Murphy had a new contract. Yeah, and part of that contract, with Paramount, part of it was like, hey, we need sequels. We need another 48 Hours, and we need Beverly Hills Cop 3. And with that's how.
And Eddie's like, how about another Golden Child? And they're like, shut up, quiet.
I actually like the Golden Child.
I've never seen the Golden Child. I just know that was kind of the movie that broke his streak. So
that was my first Eddie Murphy movie that I've ever watched.
Oh
well, yeah. So
it was the first one that wasn't. Affection. Yeah, it was the first one that wasn't rated R.
Oh yeah, that's pretty huge. That's pretty huge. Yeah.
Hey. Nice. Even though there's brief nudity in it,
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another 80s. There was so much nudity, you could even get away with a little nudity in the PG-13 movies.
Just one of the guys.
Were wild, man. 80s, just like topless women for no reason, the racial slurs for no reason, cops shooting people on the street. It was the wild fucking West.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah. The 80s just get weirder and weirder the more distance we have from them. But anyway. Well, yeah, Nigel, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, is there
We
Thank
anything?
you.
appreciate it. Always fun to have you on, man.
Yeah, is there anything you want
Thank
to
you.
plug? Anything you want to promote? Please do.
Where can
Yeah.
people find you on the socials?
On socials, you can find me at Nigel Fullerton _ on X, on Threads,
You're
on
still doing that
Instagram,
thing, huh?
on all
Okay.
the Blue Sky. I'm on now too because of
There
you
you
guys.
go. There you
Now you're
go.
talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
But honestly, I'm about to start a new podcast. I'm really excited about. It's
Ooh.
with my good friend Fudge the comedian. We've been friends since like I want to say birth, almost. Yeah, we've been friends since like he was 4, I was 3.
Oh,
We
wow.
used to watch like Muppet movies together, and like I used to go over his house and watch like American Ninja. That used to be on Pix 11.
Good stuff. All right.
The Michael Dudikoff stuff. Like we used to, we used to watch a lot of
There
those
you
movies. But yeah, we're doing a podcast together. It's like years in the making because we're always like too busy to do things. But now we want to tell like stories and like give off our personalities, and I think that's the way comedians have to evolve in the space now because like nobody's coming to comedy shows anymore.
Ooh.
I don't care for comedians doing podcasts myself. Yeah.
It's not my taste. It's not my taste.
No, I mean, if that's what you choose to do, if you're a comedian, you choose to do a podcast with your buddy who might also be a comedian, more power to you. God bless you. But no, I don't care for it myself.
Yeah.
What are people like? What are people interested in now? Like that's the thing. Like I'm like, what moves the needle?
I don't know. TikTok
For us, for our podcast, this podcast is abundant evidence that we have no idea what people are interested in.
Don't come to us for success.
No. I mean, come to us for persistence. We still keep turning these things out.
You guys, I will commend you guys. You guys like stuck to it. Like for me, I was burnt out. Like, when it comes to this Murphy thing, like I was just like, oh my God, like I keep rehashing and repeating the same things over and over again.
Were you covering the same movies multiple times or
sometimes
there's only so many?
No, there are over 40 movies that Eddie Murphy has done. Right. So you can go at a movie in a different direction. Like, let's say, like, for instance, I did 3 Trading Places episodes. One of them was about how the Dukes lost money.
Yeah.
One of them was just about Billy Ray Valentine, the person. And then the other one was I got a episode
just about Jamie Lee Curtis.
I wish. No, I got one of the big black guys that were in the cell with him. The one that goes there. Yeah, I had him on the podcast.
That's awesome. That's a good get. Yeah, I like that.
So like there's different ways of going at like movies per se, but it's just like trying to get guests and like committing and I had like a big guest the other day, and I was telling about it off air, which he was supposed to be Eddie Murphy's manager, and he decided not to, which was great because that's how we got 48 Hours. But he was supposed to be my guest on the podcast, and he totally flaked. Like, never said, like, he picked the time, he picked the date, and totally flaked on me. So like, there's famous people that I know that I wanted to do the podcast that just were like, no, like they didn't want to do it. So I was just like, I'm kind of burnt out. I'm kind of like, why am I doing this? All right. So let me just start a new one.
What's it called? Do you have a name for it yet?
We're dealing with 2 different names right now. One's called Fudge and Fully, and then another one is Pod F&F, which my last name is Fullerton, so some people used to call me Fully. It was an old childhood nickname, and his name is Fudge the Comedian. So,
wow,
F&F.
Wow,
got
F&F. There you go.
Nice.
All right, well, congrats, man. Hope it works out. Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope so too. After I said all that stuff, yeah. Nobody's listening. Guest, forget them.
Comedy.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. And folks can also like check out the old episodes of Murphy Mondays.
Yeah, there's still episodes of
still
Murphy
out
Monday. I probably will still do some more. Like I only have like a couple movies that I have not done yet. One of them is Eddie Murphy Raw. I've never done that. I've never done Harlem Nights. There's a couple movies that are still good that I still have not done in his catalog. I've done the albums, I've done the songs, I've done like everything else. So it's like, what else? I haven't done like the Shrek movies.
Wow.
Yeah. I did a lot of episodes, but there's some things that I wanted to talk about, some things I didn't want to talk about. Like I don't want to sit there and do an episode of Daddy Daycare when I know nobody's going to listen to it.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
The people aren't clamoring for the Meet Dave episode.
I love Meet Dave, though.
Wow.
Have you ever seen the movie?
I have not. I just enjoy making fun of flops that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's honestly, if you watch Meet Dave, like you have to watch it from like a kid's perspective, and also the fact that it's more, he does more physical comedy than actual comedy itself, but it's actually a fun and funny movie. I had my friend Colin Cosell watch it, and he was like, "You're making me watch this movie that flopped in 2009," and he was like so against it. And sure enough, he was like, "I actually like this movie."
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. See, so learn something new. Listen, follow Nigel Fullerton and find out some new things about yourself.
Yeah. And you can follow us on the socials. For instance, Darren. He's a Darren Credible.
DARA.
That's a nice handle.
Yeah,
right?
DARA Incredible. I'm on all the socials. Follow me there.
You can follow me at Trumbull Comic, TRUMBULL, and the word comic. You can also find me over on Letterboxd. I'm having fun over there. And you can follow the SNL Nerds profile page.
Yes.
At SNL Nerds.
Yes, on Blue Sky.
On Blue Sky. The new hip place to be.
Yeah, or on YouTube. Go find our YouTube page and listen to all these lovely podcasts on the YouTubes.
Yeah, if you liked what Nigel had to say on this week's episode, go back to the Beverly Hills Cop episode and listen to us talk all about that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's episode 243 if you're interested.
Yes, go back and...
Or even if you're not, it's still episode 243.
Yeah, it's still damn good.
Yeah.
And that's the episode. So we'll be back with a new episode. New episode of the year. Dave Chappelle, Glorilla.
Yep. And hey, we've not forgotten that those anniversary specials are coming up soon. We're going to cover those very soon. We're not sure quite how, but very soon. Keep your eye out for that. So
absolutely.
Yeah. We're working on it. We're keeping the plate spinning. So, but we'll see you next week for SNL's return. But until then, Nerds out.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.